Alright, welcome to the last video in this 2D tutorial. In this one we're actually going to take everything that we just made in Photoshop, all the sprites, and we're going to bring them into Unity and start to animate them. And you'll be able to walk your little robot around in the game, and you'll have him jump around. This is a little preview that I did. This was one I did before I even started the video series. And I'm going to work along with you with the sprites that we made, but this is just to show you what we're going to have at the end of this. So as you can see, he collides with the floor, does a little bit of idling when we're not moving him around or doing anything. He walks around if you hit D and A, because I'm using AWSD controls here. And then he jumps if you click. So you can see he jumps into the air. Alright? So that's what we're going to have at the end of this video. So I'm just going to turn him off. Okay. So now that we're all done with that, the first thing we're going to want to do is bring all of our sprites into Unity. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on our assets folder. We're going to right click, hit create folder. I'm going to call this one video sprites. So that's good. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring all of our sprites. I have them all tidied up into little folders. And we're going to take that and bring them into the folder that we just created. Alright, so after you do that, you'll see them all within our little folder. If you click on them, you'll see all the little sprites that we got. Alright, now it's time to start animating your character. So the first thing we need to do is we need a character on screen. So we're going to take our very first idle frame and bring them out. This is going to be your game character. In the hierarchy, he's going to be called whatever he's called. 00000 idle is what Photoshop named it. But we can rename him. Name him player bot, just like I had before. Yep, and then so now he is our new game character. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Window. I'm going to go to Animation. I'm going to click that. It's going to bring us this little window, and it's going to have, I'm sure if anyone's done any kind of animating before, it's going to be something familiar. You're going to have a little timeline, play, record, anything, all these familiar aspects. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click here, this little gray area right here, and we're going to create a new clip. And we're just going to put it, just for the sake of organization, we're going to put it in our video sprites folder. And what we're going to call this is, we're creating a new animation state. And this, we're just going to name idle, since we're just doing the new one. Whoops. I thought we were calling the folder. So what we're going to do is hit idle.anim. Alright, so we have that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just simply drag in our frames. Just going to drag in your frames into the timeline. For right now, you can just drag them wherever you want. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I always get a little lost when dragging them in. Because you can tweak your animation. So right now, we're just going to bring them in. There we go, something like that. So once you have them all in, you can actually hit play right here and see how it looks in game. Alright, so that's how it's looking right now. This actually looks pretty decent. It doesn't look like we'll have to do tweaking at all. So we're just going to leave this. You can hit this little record button. You can see it when you're messing around with frames. This actually highlights, kind of like you're recording the animation for your character. So when you're done with that, you can untick record, and we're going to actually hit play right here to see how it looks in game. So this is your game. Like, this is your game preview. This is what he looks right now. He doesn't move around right now. He doesn't walk. He doesn't jump. But right now, he's animating. So that's good. That's what we want. So we're going to untick that. Move that. Alright, so now we're going to create the jump and walk animations all together. And then we'll start to connect them. And then we'll be able to get your game character moving around within the game. Jumping on bricks, jumping on walls, you can do whatever you want. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to click here again. We're going to go down to create new clip. Make sure we're in our folder that we had before. And we're going to create our walk animation. Alright, so you're going to go to your walk sprites. Just make this a little tinier. Alright, so we're going to take this. We're going to take our first walk. I actually learned that this is an unnecessary frame. This one just makes the walk look a little wonky, not correct. So we're going to actually take the second frame, the ones where his legs are crossing over a little bit. So you got that. Then you bring in the second. Then you bring in the third. And we're just going to do this all the way until we get down to the last one. Right, and then when we get down to the last one, since we need to reverse the cycle of his walk, we're actually going to just bring in this frame and this one more time. So this way he'll walk, cross over, and then he'll start to bring back. And then when the animation loops, it'll go back and just be one seamless animation. Let's see what we got right now before any tweaking. That looks good. See how his legs cross over, and then with the frame in there, it just loops back. And it'll keep constantly going. But yeah, that's looking pretty good. There's some things we could tweak. Maybe we could bring some frames closer together. Something like this. You could spend a while just tweaking it until you get it absolutely perfect, which I won't do for this video just for the sake of time. But it's good to have something, or to spend a little bit more time tweaking this. Okay, so that's look good. Alright, our little robot's walking around now. But you'll notice, untick record, that when we hit play, in the game preview, he's just going to be idling. This is because we have nothing connecting our idle animation to our walk animation. But we'll get to that in just a sec. So I just wanted to show you that even though you created the walk animation, this will be his default animation for the time being. Alright, so time to create the jump. Let's get our jump sprites out. Click here, hit create new clip. Jump.anim. Whoops. Forgot about that there. We're in our folder, jump.anim. I'm going to save. Now for this jump animation, this one's going to be a little bit different from everything else because we're going to want these 3 frames very close together. Because he's going to crouch down as quick as he can. Let me just mouse wheel up so we can zoom in a little bit on our animation. This is another one we're tweaking. It's just something that would make it a little bit better. I think it's because it happens. The only reason it's doing something like this is because it happens within 1/10 of a second. But it's just something we could tweak when we make the transitions and we get them actually jumping in game. Alright, so now that you have all your animations done, we can exit out of the animation window. We're going to be bringing it up again a little bit later, but for right now we don't need it anymore. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put some scripts onto our player. We're going to put a script that will let him move around right to left, and then we're going to have a separate script that allows him to jump. So let's get those scripts on our little robot guy. So let me just bring up the scripts so you can copy them down. What you're going to do is you're going to go to Assets, you're going to right click, you're going to go to Create, and you're going to create a new C# script. And when you do that, you're going to be given a blank script. You're going to name it, well, I named it Move Right Left. You just call it Move, something like that. You're going to see something like this. This is going to be your default empty script. So what you're going to do is you're going to double click on it. I'm going to double click on my own just to bring up Mono Develop so you can see it. But when you double click, you're going to bring up the script editor, Mono Develop, and you're going to see your scripts up here. So I'll leave this on screen just so you can copy it down into your own script. You can pause it. Okay, once you get that done, what you're going to do is go to Assets again, right click, create another C# script. You're going to name this one Jump. And once you get that done, we'll bring up Mono Develop again. You're going to copy this script into your Jump script. So I'll give you a sec to pause the video and copy this down. Okay, so once that's done, you can get out of Mono Develop and close that. And let me just delete this. Alright, so what you're going to do now is you're going to take your Move Left Right script. We're going to leave the Jump script alone for right now. You're going to take your Move Left Right script and drag it onto your player. So if you hit play, you're going to see him idling around, but if you hit WASD, or A and D, I'm sorry, you should see him move a little around. Alright, so this is what we want. But we don't want him moving around in idle animation. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create the transitions between idle, walk, and jump. So when you move around, he'll start to walk here, and when you jump, he'll jump. He'll play his jump animation. What you're going to do is with your little guy selected, you're going to go to Window, Animator. You're going to see 3 different bars here, each with the animation that you named. These are your animation states. I just like to keep them like this. So right now it's going to this one. This one's just the default idle animation. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this, click Make Transition. You're just going to mouse over to Jump and click. So now idle and jump have a transition, or idle to jump has a transition, I should say. This transition is what's going to control. We're going to set some parameters in here that'll make it when those parameters are true, then you'll transition from idle to jump. Okay, so you're going to do that for every other animation. You're going to make transitions to and from each one. Okay. So now those are all connected. And then when you go to play, let me just unclick maximize on play. Where is it? Sorry. There we go. Alright. So now when you hit play, he'll animate, but then now that they all have connections, they'll go in between each other. And we don't want this. We want idle when he's idle, and then we want him to jump when he needs to and walk when he needs to. So the transitions will help us with that. So now that we have this, we're going to set some parameters that we can put into our transitions. So we're going to go over this little tab right here, Parameters. We're going to hit that, and we're going to create a new float. We're going to call this one Speed, and just leave it at 0. We're going to hit Enter. We're going to create another one. We're going to create a trigger, and just call it Jump. And we're going to create one more trigger, and just call it Land. Okay. So now, for instance, when we have this idle and we want it to go into jump, we're just going to want to set this transition and go over here. This is where you use those parameters you just made. See how it says conditions? It's basically the conditions that need to be met to transition from this animation to this one. So to go from idle to jump, he's going to have to jump. And there's going to be no other conditions made because it's just a trigger. If the jump trigger is set off, then he will jump. It should be the same thing for walk. So we're going to hit to transition from walk to jump. He's going to need to have jumped. All right, and then we'll do the transitions back. So for him, in order for him to walk after he jumped, for this one, he's going to need to have landed. And then you can go over here to set a new condition, and his speed is going to need to be greater than, get set something like 0.1. So this way, so these conditions are basically to go from jump to walking, he's going to need to have landed, and his speed is going to need to be greater than 1. So that will mean that he's moving forward. All right, and then in order for him to go into idle animation from jump, same thing, he's going to need to land, create a new condition, and his speed is going to need to actually be less than 0.1, because that means he's just standing still, thus he would be in idle animation. Okay, now we will just take care of these transitions. In order to go from idle to walk, his speed need to be greater than 0.1. And then simply, in order to go from walk to idle, he'll basically need to have, had to have stopped, so speed need to be less than 0.1. So now when we hit play, he should just simply stay in idle. Yep. So now nothing's happening because his speed, or none of the other conditions are met in order to call the other animations. But if we hit D, now his speed is greater than 1 and he'll start walking. And then if we hit A, he'll turn around and his speed is greater than 1 and he'll keep walking that way. Okay, so our guy's now walking. Alright, so now we need to start implementing jump. So we'll go back to our scene, and we will take our jump script and drag it onto our player. Alright, so now that we have the jump script onto our little robot guy, there's just a couple of things we're going to have to take care of before you can see him start jumping around in game. First of all, we're going to click on him just so we can get a look at our little script here. These are just a little bit of tweaks that we're going to do to our character, like adding colliders to him so he doesn't collide into walls, or so he does collide into walls actually, and he doesn't get stuck in them or go through them. Alright, so with your bot selected, you're going to go to Component, and you go to Physics 2D, and you're going to add a Rigid Body 2D onto your robot. We're going to click here, we're going to go click Fixed Angle. This way he always stays straight up like this. If you didn't have this clicked, he would rotate if he was on the edge of a, let's say an edge of a cube like this, he would rotate and start to fall down weird, and that's not what we want. So we're going to leave him with Fixed Angle. Alright, with him still selected, we're going to add another component. We're going to add a box collider to him. Now this box collider is what's going to keep him from going through things like this cube, which I've already added a box collider onto, and I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. And what we're going to do is drag this box collider up. We're actually going to go into the size and go into the Y, and this will be just a couple of tweaks that we're going to do. Let's see, I think it was 2. 2 looks fine. Now we're going to bring it center, we're going to bring it up a little bit. Yeah, that'll rotate our guy. So we're going to make this 1.5. See, there's just another thing where you can tweak 1.7. 1.7 looks like it might work. I'm going to bring it to 1.8. Now you're going to see a little bit of space between here. Like this part of him won't collide if we leave it like this, and his legs will actually go through the floor. Let's see if this works. Oh, of course. Let's see, there's something else. We have to, oh, yep. We have to untick in our animator, we have to untick apply root motion. Alright, so now he should fall all the way down to the ground, and as you can see, his legs are through the floor. And as you can see, this is the box collider that's keeping him, it's wherever this box collider is that will allow him to stand. So that's a good size, so we're going to offset the center. So in your robot guy, in his box collider, you can go here, and this will just be a little bit more tweaking. 0.4, we're just going to bring it up so the top of this box is on the top of his antenna. So 0.2 is a little bit too much, 0.1 is actually perfect. Alright, so we're going to leave it like that. Now I know what you're going to say, you're saying, oh, he's going to clip through if we just leave it like this. But what we're going to do is we're going to add another collider to him. We're going to go to Component, Physics 2D, Circle Collider. And what this is going to do is this is actually going to make everything smoother. With the box collider, if the edges were here, since it's square, if you were going up inclines, the corner of the box will get caught a lot and your animation will start to jitter, I should say. But with this circle collider, the rounded edge will allow you to walk up inclines smoothly, fall next to items, or fall down away from edges smoothly. The corners won't clip and cause a little bit of weird animation. Alright, so we're going to actually bring the radius down just to about the size of our character. Not 0.3, 0.4. 0.4 seems to work. Okay, and then we're, just like we did with the square, we're going to offset the center. This time we're going to go negative. Negative 3 is a little bit too much, so we're going to go negative 0.3. Negative 0.6. Negative 0.6 seems to actually be where we want it to be. Let's take a look. See, so now he's got his little box colliders that allow him to walk up and down things smoothly. And his box collider will allow him to collide into items. So that's looking really good. We might even be able to up the radius of our circle just a little bit. Let's see. You can go 0.45. A little bit too much, a little 0.43. Yeah, I like the looks of that. I think 0.43 is a good radius for our circle to be at. So your robot is now set up with box colliders, so now he won't fall through the floor and he won't fall through any other objects. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set him up to jump. If you take a look in his jump script, you're going to have this. He's going to have a ground check, which you're going to see none here, but that's where we're going to put in a sec. You're going to see a bool that's asking if he's grounded. See, right now it's unchecked. That's meaning he's not touching the ground. Within the jump script, this needs to be checked. He needs to be on the ground in order to jump. It just makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to game object. We're going to create an empty game object, and we're going to parent it to the player bot. So now it's in there. We just leave it as empty game object, or just leave it as a game object. So we're going to click player bot, and then we're going to drag the game object into our ground check right here. So now what this is going to do, this game object is going to check whether or not he is touching the ground. So we're going to take it and put it near his feet. So right there. So whenever this game object is touching the ground, the game will know, Unity will know that he is on the ground and therefore can jump. So we're going to hit play. And we're going to see walking around, and if you click the mouse button, he's going to move up in the air. But we're going to see that his animation is called incessantly. So what we're going to do is, it's just going to be a little bit more tweaking. Oh, I think I see the problem. His feet aren't actually touching the ground. That might be a little bit of, that might have to do with our circle collider where we increased the radius before. Yep, sure does. Okay, so this is a simple fix. We're just going to bring this up a little bit. So we're going to say 0.56. That works. See, now it's almost at the very edge of his feet. Actually, you might actually want to bring it back down a little bit. So we'll say 5.7, 5.8. 5.8 is perfect. That is what we want. So now if we hit play, let me zoom out of here. See that he's going to jump. He's still going to go through his thing. Alright, so let's see what's wrong with our guy and why he's not jumping. You know, it might be a simple solution, I think it is our game object. Our game object might not be hitting the ground, so every time, and this is what keeps us checked if it's grounded. And if you remember back when we were doing the transitions, he needs to have landed, therefore be grounded in order to transition from jump to walk or back to idle. So we're going to drag this guy just a little bit down. Let's see if this works. We're going to hit play. Alright, so far so good. Let me actually zoom out of here so we can see better. We'll walk around. We jump. Oh, there we go. See? So now he's jumping. He stops. But now we have this where he just keeps jumping and jumping. Alright, this is going to be an easy fix. We're just going to go to our animations right here. We're going to go to video sprite where we stored our animations right here. We're going to go to jump. And we're going to untick loop. Or loop time, sorry. So now what this should do is when we jump, so you should jump. There we go. So as you see, it walks, and if you click, jumps, and then that's it. Alright. So now you got this guy walking around, and then if you click, he goes in from jump. His ground is checked, he lands. Alright, so now we can do some little bit of fun things. Before I end the video, I'll show you how to create a couple little bit of boxes with box colliders, just so you can see him walking around and moving around. So we're going to go to game component. We're going to create other. And go to cube, and this is you can just make the size whatever you want. You hit R to scale it, so you can have these little gizmos, and then you hit W to move it around. So what we're going to do, like we could give them a little bit of platforms. I'm going to have this selected, hit Control D. Or actually, before I duplicate it, let me just do this. With our cube selected, you're going to go to Component, Physics 2D. You're going to add a 2D box collider 2D. And Unity is going to say it's a conflicting opponent or component. Oh, that's because we have to get rid of the box collider that's already on this cube. So once you have that box collider gone, you can add a box collider 2D. We're going to see our little robot guy is going to walk around. We could jump. Oh, okay. And this is another little bit of tweaking you're going to have to do. You're going to have to put every single cube that you make onto its own layer under here, under the layer. You're just going to put it on the ground layer. That's what the grounded game object checks for. It checks to see if it's on anything that's on the ground layer. So that whenever you make these cubes, that's what you're going to have to do. So we're going to hit Control D, shift them out, D. There we go. So let's see if we have this. We have this all good. So, I mean, there isn't a camera system set up yet, but this is just the basics of animation. See, since these cubes are now in the ground layer, the grounded game object is checking and coming back true that he is on the ground. And there we go. You can set up different variables, like if he's not walking quick enough for you, or if he's not if he's not jumping high enough for you, you can actually go into your player bot. You can go to the jump script, and you can affect these powers. I think this was originally at 1. I ticked this up to 250 because without it he wouldn't have jumped. So you can do something like 20, and I don't think he'll jump as high as we had him going. Yeah, he won't even get off the ground. So what you can do, that's why I hit it at 250. You can even put it at 500. Let's see what we get with this. Yeah, and there he goes. He jumps pretty high. Alright, so you can do that. Let's just bring it back down to 250. And then with move left and right, you can have you can bump up the speed to 3. Now he walks a little bit faster. But just remember, if you play with any of these parameters, such as speed or like the jump height, you're going to want to tweak your animation so you don't get any weird effects. Like this, it seems to be okay. The animation that we set up for walk and for his speed, so it doesn't look like he's skating. It looks like he's actually touching the ground and pushing off with each step. But if you set something up like speed, where is it? Speed up to 5. Let me just make this a little bit longer so you can get a little bit of a track. If you made something like a speed to 5, see his legs look really weird and it looks like he's skating. That's where the speed doesn't match up with his legs. See, so that's just remember to tweak your animations if you ever up the speed or the jump power. But yeah, pretty much that's it. We got a little bit of a recap. We went from our simple little robot Photoshop file. We created several different sprites. We created ones for jumping, walking, and idle. And then we took those sprites and we brought them into the game engine Unity, and we got them animating around to create a little simple environment. This is a good base for a platformer game. So yeah, all of our hard work into this. Alright, I hope you enjoyed these video tutorials. I hope you learned a lot from them. And I'll see you next time.